We're live.
Yes, and I deliberately did the desktop audio. Please don't anybody time out. How? Alakai. That's how I'm going to pronounce it, Alakai. No disrespect if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Please do not time it out. Ox, I took it away just for this stream. No disrespect to you. You'll get it back later. You're grand. And yeah, if you wish to join, Alaki, whatever. I'm going to stop doing that. You are more than welcome to join. If you have Twitter or Discord, reach out to me. Post your link. I will make you blue. That's what I'll do. I'm going to make you blue. I'm going to...
Who?
I'm going to give the Christians some safety. And then I can make Ox back being a mod again. So now nobody can time anyone out. So, for tonight, you will have moderator status, Alaka, and you will be able to stay here, do whatever, say whatever. So, just open to discussion, people. As me and Kendon... No, hold on. I just want to finish this and then we'll move back because it's about Kendon.
He's not listening to you. You just said he's listening to worship songs and talking in the chat.
You're listening to worship songs and chatting. Would you... Oh. Okay. Right. I, as the owner of the channel, I'm putting my hand out. You're welcome to come on and join. Now, the whole point is open conversation, as me and Kendon were trying to prove earlier. Kendon being the man of the moment tonight. And, yeah, no, very much enjoyed the conversation. If you hadn't seen the original video, go back and watch it. We disagree on a lot of things, but we had cordial conversation. We bantered back and forth. And, yeah, thumbs up from both sides. We don't hate each other. And after COVID, if I'm in England seeing Dave, I'll buy him a pint. He'll buy me a pint. We'll be grand. Stephen has been in the background reacting. I watched you leave and then come back again, Stephen. I'm so glad you come back. Have you anything that you would like to add to the conversation? Knowing Ken, you being the connection between us, knowing that you wanted us to have this conversation as well, we knew it would be good. So what is your thoughts on the conversation?
Well, yeah, I thought it was a good conversation. I agreed with MathPig more than I did with Kendon, which is a surprise to absolutely nobody.
It's me. We usually disagree.
Well, yes. Well, I agreed with you more than I did with Kendon. I want to kind of specify that. There was a few things that you had said where I was like, this ain't it, Chief. But look, we'll kind of, we'll...
Stephen's internet just broke, people.
All right.
We understand that Kendon is a master of manipulation, and he managed to convince you of certain things.
Wordplay that I didn't have enough. Yeah, I had problems with some of his words. All right. So, all right, you can all go. Stephen, sorry, back to you. Here.
You're all good. I was just going to say, yeah. So, oh God. I do think that, you were like kind of talking about the whole kind of like capitalism, like, and where it actually belongs. Like, does it belong with liberals? Does it belong with Democrats? Does it belong with, or with like right-leaning people? And whereas I will kind of like use this phrase, not all capitalists are conservatives, but all conservatives are capitalists. So they would, so the production or the furthering of like capitalism or of capital interests, it is also like it runs parallel with the interests of conservatives. And I think that that's almost like one of the biggest problems. It's kind of what MathPig briefly touched on and what Dave more so kind of brought up. We're like talking about all of these issues and about like all of the real genuine issues that you touched on, of kids not being able to, or parents not being able to afford to pay all the bills and have the fridge fully stocked, as is a real issue, not just in my country or in yours, but in a lot of different countries. And however, the kind and like, look, whereas I believe you that you like are genuinely upset at that fact, the problem with that is it is in the interest of capitalism to, if they could get away with it, pay you nothing for your full day's work. So it is in the interest of businesses to, like, because they want to make as much money as possible, it is in their interest to fight any sort of laws, any sort of legislations that is trying to increase wages. It is trying to fight unionization. It is trying to fight all of these things that is there to back up and to protect workers. So, like, even though I know what you're saying and I hear where you're coming from, I do genuinely think that the system of government that you stand in defense of is also the thing that is the root cause of all of the issues that you are also concerned about.
Yes, but that's because you imagine that the system of government that I'm advocating is almost like a one-party state where the Conservatives overrule. The advantage of a parliamentary democracy, at least in theory, if not in practice, is that people challenge the Conservative point of view all the time, because that's the whole point of the system. It's not that Conservatives are only, I mean, you are right in the sense that not all capitalists are conservative, but all conservatives are capitalists. Conservatives recognize that capitalism, as I've said multiple times, is the engine of economic growth and innovation. It just is, and every other economic model that's been tried has ultimately collapsed. Capitalism has always been the most successful. However, what I'm not a fan of is predatory corporate capitalism, for example. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of letting people run amok in any context. In fact, my entire position on all the conversations that I've had with MathPig, it's running amok is something that I find unpalatable. And that doesn't just mean, single parents, breeding with anybody they like. That's running amok. But so is, ravaging the natural world and trying to make a quick buck out of all these various enterprises. Everything needs to be regulated. Everything needs to be controlled. Everything needs some level of oversight. How much oversight and who is overseeing the project, that's another conversation. But I don't think that capitalism is the sort conservatism or capitalism is the source of all problems at all. I'm happy to elaborate on that, but that's a basic.
So would you support a move back to pre-80s on, again, this is more come from the States, when the shareholders sued businesses and said that directors of companies are not allowed to take into account anyone else's interests. That means that the shareholders' priority is more important than the workers or wider society.
No, I don't think. I'm not sure I'm qualified enough to sort of give you a solid answer on that one. I'm just saying that the shareholders are not the only people who get to make decisions, because ultimately businesses, one of the things, here's an example, right? I don't go to Starbucks, right? I do not give Starbucks my money. One, the coffee's shit. And two, Starbucks don't pay their corporation tax. Now, the reason that winds me up is because corporation tax in Britain is actually really quite low. It's a competitive rate. It's designed to draw business into the country. But what Starbucks is doing by not paying its tax is it's not paying for all of the social utilities that the workers need to use. It's like, I'm sorry, you can make billions of dollars in profit. I don't actively care, but pay your fucking tax, you thieving bastards, right? And so I don't support that. So the idea that it's only profit is the profit. The profit motive is a fine motive, but it's not the only motive. The country.
My point is that right now it is. Right now, well, not profit per se, but profit and share price. Share price is now the only motive, because outside of assuming a company is not a small business, because boards are no longer allowed. That has got to be their priority. They are not allowed to make a decision that will negatively affect their share price. They've been sued over it over and over again, and that's come over to the UK. That attitude has come over with the multinationals.
It has done, but fortunately we have a deeply entrenched, highly evolved democratic system. We also have a social safety net that the Americans could only dream of. Because as I said, it's a MathPig, there's more to life than money. The problem with America is that the United States of America isn't actually a country. It's a market. It always has been. It's always been. It's a business. It always has been a business. And so it hasn't had. I mean, let's face it. Most of our social institutions have only been instigated since the end of the Second World War. A lot of them, because again, we had to rebuild from the ground up. America has never had that kind of cataclysmic change whereby the entire structure has to be reconsidered from the ground up. We don't have that kind of attitude yet. We could develop it, but we don't have that attitude yet. So at the moment, corporate CEOs have to listen to shareholders, but we have a populace that can be angry enough and can be motivated enough to protest. And that, I think, is what keeps everybody, because politicians are afraid of not being elected. Yes, okay, corporate sponsors support them. We all know they take back. We all know they're sponsored by big business. Of course they are. And the Tory party more than any other, let's be honest. But they're also afraid of their people. They're also afraid of the electorate in a way that American politicians really aren't. Because Americans, bless them, have been sold a bill of goods. They've been told that, all regulation is evil because it's all socialism, and they'll end up building the Soviet Union and all this rubbish. Like everything's is it the thin end of the wedge fallacy? Is that what it's called? Whereby if you introduce a little bit, then suddenly it becomes a big bit, and suddenly the government's around your door with a clipboard, making an itemizing all of your private property, and you won't have private property, and they're coming to take your guns away, and all of this paranoid, deluded Fox News bullshit that frankly has no basis in reality.
That's coming over here as well.
Is it though? I disagree.
It is. It is starting to. Is it? You seem more sane. At the end of the day, there are conservatives in this country. I don't mean politicians. I mean people. That are heading down the route now that any hint of doing anything with any other industry. Of nationalising the railways, that they're not even willing to have this debate as to whether or not this is a good thing. They're not even willing to have look at the numbers. I mean, it's what pisses me off about medicine in the States. That they just see it as this. It's true. I find it funny that in both countries, the things that we've got socialised, they don't see as communism. But any hint further is, and it's this simplistic viewing.
Thank you for joining.
Well, but the thing is that everybody I know who has a card is a card carrying Tory twat is willing to. Sorry,
I would definitely say the people I'm talking to are not card carrying.
Well, okay, but I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I'll shake hands with the devil if he gives me a smile. I mean, when Stephen Stephen found his way into my comment section and says, "Do you fancy meeting up?" And I thought, well, he might be a loony, but let's see what happens. And we just hit it off, and we disagree on about 90% of everything. So we'll have the conversation. Because I might be on the right, Dave, but that doesn't mean that I'm always right. That's the thing. It's a question of bias and prejudice and perspective and opinion, which isn't necessarily based entirely on fact. It's based on feeling and all this stuff. And the only way I know whether I'm right or wrong is by talking to people who already think I'm wrong. And therefore I have to articulate my position, and then you have to expose fallacies in my position. Therefore,
I completely agree. But the problem is the debate is not being had there anymore. And this is what worries me about where this country is going and where the US already is. Do you think the majority of Trump voters are having these debates about policies? Or do you think they're scared about people taking their guns away?
Oh, there is definitely a conversation to be had. But the thing is, I have chats with Trump supporters all the time. The great thing about TikTok is that most of my audience is American for some bloody reason. I don't know, because most of the users are American, I guess. And obviously, because I'm mildly conservative but willing to listen to other people, I drag a lot of Trump supporters into the fold. And I've been on podcasts with Trump supporters, and we have a chat, and we don't necessarily agree on everything. But people are willing to talk. They really are willing to talk. It's just that no bugger wants to listen. The thing is with me is I've had Thanksgiving dinner with Trump supporters in the United States, right? And I've had deep conversations with these people. And these are people who are big gun fans. They don't believe in any form of social welfare, all this sort of thing. And I disagree with a lot of what they say, what they stand for. But the amazing thing is that when you just listen to them, they'll tell you the secrets of the universe if you just let them. And a lot of them vote for Trump because they're desperate. I mean, I've had this chat with Stephen about this. A lot of people who voted for Trump wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, but he didn't get the nomination. A lot of the people who liked his social, because he's very much a socialist. He's been on, inflating minimum wage and all this stuff and bringing jobs back to America and all this stuff. Because when he didn't get the nomination in 2016, they turned to the dark side and they voted for, Tangerine Mussolini because out of desperation. So they are willing to talk. I just think there's an attitude, not necessarily from you, obviously, but there's an attitude on the left whereby, Trump is Hitler. Anybody who votes for him is a Nazi, and therefore we're not going to talk to any of them. But yeah, they are there. They are there, and they'll have a chat with you. Yeah, there are some nutters and there's some idiots, but we're going to get that in any group. It doesn't matter what political persuasion they are.
I just wanted to kind of very, very just quickly follow that up, which is just like Kendon, we've talked several times before and stuff like that, and yeah, we don't agree on that much and stuff, but like I would have absolutely no issue sitting down for a pint with yourself, or like anybody who I do vehemently don't agree with, but is nice and pleasant and you can actually have a conversation with. I too share MathPig's vision of not wanting to surround yourself with people that will always agree with me. It's why I have MathPig and you, Kendon, and so many other people on my channel, because I know that whereas yes, we do agree on some issues, but then again, me and Kendon agree on 10% of issues, so that's always going to happen. But if they don't see eye to eye with me on a certain issue, they will call me out for it, and that's what I want, because I want to have an open and honest talk with people. Yeah. Sorry.
And you'll find that there's a lot of this. There's a lot of this going around. There are people who are willing to talk, and I think they're divided by the algorithm, the almighty algorithm, which I hate. They're lied. Both sides lie about the enemy. Both sides lie about themselves. The dialogue, particularly in America, where obviously there's so much money in news media, they have formed their own echo chambers. I mean, obviously I slag off Fox News because I can read and have an IQ above room temperature, but I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of MSNBC, CNN, or the Huffington Post, or any of that shit either. American news media is horrible to me. I mean, say what you like about the BBC, but at least they're calm and collected. So yeah, I mean, it's there are you can even be friends with people on the other side of the aisle. Like, but taking the American context, you could be a Democrat your whole life, but you could easily befriend a Trump supporter. You just disagree with everything, every one of their political positions. But that attitude, I think, is disappearing, or has disappeared from the wider discourse. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone come in with a counter argument. I'm willing to entertain it.
If I can just say, Alika, I'm willing to give you.
In case MathPig, you're muted.
Fuck's sake. Maya, thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate your opinion as always. Maya, this is Kendon. This is Maya. Maya is old guard, always very smart, always comes back with good opinions. Fabio, if you haven't met Fabio is also he's that Italian.
Hey.
Sometimes he says nice things. Most of the time he just calls people assholes. Usually works out well.
No, I mean, call me an asshole. It's fair.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really weird. Like, he was in the when you guys were talking earlier, I was just like, this guy's wrong on everything. Goddamn. Like,
a lot of people have that opinion.
But I actually do agree with his take right now. So I don't know. I can't really counter it because it's very similar to mine. It's like, yeah, you can talk to Trump supporters. I've done it. Like, a lot of people hate Twitter, but like, people like get on Twitter and just start like letting their dick take control of the keyboard, and it's just like, if you treat people like people, like when you get the trolls, people, you can tell when somebody's trolling, so you can like treat them like an asshole, which is you yourself being an asshole, or you can actually try to have a civilized conversation. Now, when you treat people like a person, they feel stupid if they're going to be like them being childish and the other person's acting like an adult. Most people, I'm not saying, like there's your Darth Dawkins or whatever, but
I know who that is. Sorry, Karen.
No, that's fine. But yeah, no, you can go on Twitter, you can have conversations. You just have to be the bigger man. And if you can do that, you can have like actual conversations. Like, one of the biggest things I hated when with the whole parlor thing and everybody leaving to go over there was that Twitter's kind of like this what do you call it? Kind of just the left eating the left now, which I don't mind per se, outside of all the bad ideas. But like, there's no like from the conservatives, I can't figure out what it is, what they're talking about, what they're thinking about. I can't, tell them that CRT isn't a real thing, at least not the way it's being proposed. But all that's gone because everybody's gone to their own like little safe spaces, and
well, that's because
we can't have conversations.
Sorry for interrupting. Sorry, I'm just.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
No.
I'm not.
No, because in the modern world, all conservatives are closet Nazis, or they're crypto fascists, or they're fascist enablers, or they're all secretly trying to destroy people. They're all phobes and ists. They don't want. If you question it, if they question any aspect of the progressive narrative, they want to bin the progressive narrative completely. They want to return to the 1950s, where training a woman to the kitchen sink. Homosexuals don't exist. They're a mythical creature like leprechauns or unicorns. But that's the attitude from a lot of people. Like, it also doesn't help that these social media platforms are entirely politicized because the people who run them don't realize that they're actually meant to be as broadcast. They're supposed to act like broadcasters, but really they act like publishers with their own political bent. It's fine that Jack Dorsey has a left-wing point of view, but what does bother me is that his left-wing principles are the only ones that are comfortable on Twitter. They're the only ones you're allowed to express.
I completely disagree.
See, that's where we're going to have. Yeah, that's where we're going to have serious disagreements.
Four people shaking their head. Dave, you've had some chance. Stephen, we'll give it a go, and then we'll bounce over to Maya and then Fabio.
So like the whole thing. So every single app, every single like anything like that is going to have a TOS, right? So Parler has a TOS. You have Trump's app, which was there for like 5 minutes and then flopped because of course it did. That had a TOS. Every single app, every single site that you signs up to has a TOS. You agree to that TOS when you sign up. Now, I agree that it's like fucking terms and conditions when you're buying a washing machine that you're basically then 10 years from now, you're signing away your like fucking house, your sperm, and all of your kids away. I get that nobody reads fucking, but TOS are there. You are notified of them if you break them. If you break them, you break them. It's your responsibility. If TOS are supposed to be there to make sure that everybody collectively, to the best of its ability, is tolerated and is, kept safe. If that means that, somebody who is Nazi adjacent can't call somebody who is, trans the wrong pronouns all the time, can't send them death threats, can't do any of this, tough shit. That's just how life is. Because if you bend totally to one, you're fucking over the other person, and that's not what they're about. So the whole thing about sorry.
What you're conflating, though, Stephen, is you're conflating conduct with content. So I agree that in terms of service, there is you're not allowed to swear at people. You're not allowed to send, obviously, you're not allowed to send death threats. I mean, I appreciate this. It's an extreme example, but that does happen. I'm talking about political content. You are not allowed to, like, for example, type these 4 words onto Twitter, see how long you last. Trans women are not women. Try it. It just, because what they'll do is they'll massage the terms of service, they'll manipulate the terms of service.
But that's what I'm saying, though, because saying that trans women are not women is a transphobic statement to make. That's what that is, and you can't be openly transphobic on Twitter. That's one of the terms of service.
But your belief that the statement "trans women are not women" is a transphobic statement is a left-wing point of view.
You disagree? You disagree with that? Then
just it's not the left-wing point of view, but
just to clarify, you disagree with that statement? Then
but this is the thing. But this is the thing, MathPig. It's that this is what I'm talking about. You know, it is a standard conservative point of view that is shared by billions of people around the world, is that a trans woman is not a woman because they are biologically male. You don't have to agree with that point of view. I'm not asking for that conformity. That I don't believe in.
I'm just wondering your stance on that particular statement. Now, it's a statement, and obviously the conversation is more nuanced than that. But Stephen is making a point that that statement is not a good thing, and I'm asking, do you agree with that statement?
Well, I did no. I agree to a certain degree, because I agree that women are female. That's the problem. You see, I'm not afraid of trans women, and I don't hate them. And we've had a conversation about this, whereby I'm prepared to like offer protections for trans women. I'm attracted to trans women. I've been with trans women. You know, I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that at all. But I think trans women are a separate category, and we've had this conversation, haven't we? Where I've said.
To be honest, man, from that conversation that we had on Stevens, it was fun, and we did go back and forth, and we agreed on things, and then we fought over stuff that we actually did agree. But what I came to the conclusion at the end of the conversation when we were talking about LGBTQ rights was that you were on the side of them.
Yeah, I'm on the side. I'm on the side of trans people.
But that statement, making that statement, it's a confliction, which is what Dave was pointing out earlier, that there in some of the things that you said there's confliction, and some things that you've went through and you've explained and justified, so to speak. But saying that I'm an LGBTQ ally and then saying, you know, trans women aren't women is a confliction, so to speak.
No, but again, this is the problem. I don't understand.
Saying that, you know, like, oh well, trans women are in the woman category, but they're not completely there. I mean, women is a blanket term. Like, you know, I mean, there are cis women and there are trans women. There are brown-haired women and there are blonde women. There are big women. There are small women. There are, you know, fat women. There are thin women. There are big-boobied women. There are small-boobied women. But they're all women.
I was waiting
for
you to mention the boobies.
Women.
Yeah, but here's the next question.
Because women is a category of it is a collection of people who identify whose gender identity is female. That's it.
No, but again, that's another problem, because first of all, define woman. You can't. Second of all, you've conflated sex.
Hold on, did you give him a chance? You didn't give him a chance. You didn't give him a chance. You asked him a question.
There isn't a good definition of women. At every point in our society, a different definition is used.
So, like, you know, a definition of women is, you know,
you got to go broad.
100 years ago was, you know, the long-haired person who works in the kitchen from dawn till dusk. But the definition of women is as you know, changed now, and it will change again. The whole thing about like what is a woman is a woman. It doesn't have a fixed definition. Neither does a man. A man does not have a fixed definition either. It's something that is constantly changing.
But the problem is you can't define a word with itself. You can't say a cat. You know, it's the Gertrude Stein statement: a rose is a rose is a rose, right? That doesn't mean anything. You still haven't explained what a rose is. Second problem is that their roles for women have changed over time through because of social demands. Right, that's definitely true, but that you still, I mean, you know, you gave the example of brown-haired women, blonde-haired women, big women with big boobs, women with small boobs, right? Okay, those women do exist, but you still haven't defined what the actual category of woman means. And the reason why that's important is you can't identify as literally anything unless it has a kind of definition. So I identify as British because I was born and raised in Britain. Now, Britishness, however, you know, it's a broad term, but it has to begin with something.
Yes, but okay, no, I've got to interrupt there. There are millions of people that are British that were not born or raised in Britain.
Dave, make your statement. And then
that's it.
Make your statement. I promised the floor to Maya. I did promise the floor to Maya, and I'm trying to moderate. I know you're fucking. I know. I appreciate you, Dave. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, Dave. I too love you. I adore you. You are a magnificent person.
Smack him. Just the back of your hand.
No, a woman in the chat made a comment that I would like to say, actually. From that conversation, you deeply lack a knowledge of human sexuality, genetics, and social graces. Sleeping with a trans woman does not give you a pass to behave as a bigot and a transphobe.
Well, I'm not intolerant, so I'm not a bigot, and I don't have a pathological fear of trans people. So therefore, both those statements are wrong.
Okay, yeah, maybe we need a definition of transphobe, because I mean, you're.
I'm sorry, but no, but a phobia is a pathological fear of something. Like when I was a kid, I was.
But what is transphobia?
Well,
What is
yeah, but I mean,
transphobia?
the whole thing
that's going to
about
be a
like,
rabbit
oh
hole.
God,
That's a rabbit hole that we're going to go down for ages. Keeping it sort of slightly on topic. And Maya, if you can comment.
If I could, by giving an example really, really quickly.
Can the owner of the
Oh, go
channel
ahead, yeah, I
make
don't
his
care.
one statement really, really quickly?
Okay.
I don't care.
I was just winding Stephen up. Maya, you can shut me
Oh.
down anytime you want. You know, Stephen's just
No, you know, Jenny actually has a dog in this fight, and
No.
I wanted to lend her voice to this.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, if you are making the statement that trans women need to be a separate category, then you obviously have some sort of a definition for women in your own mind. By making the statement that trans women are separate, Stephen was conflicted on how he can give. Dave made the point the reason for that is because it differs across society. But in your opinion, the fact that trans women are a separate category, you must have in your mind an idea of what a category is for women yourself, your opinion. So would you mind then sharing that?
MathPig, Twitter, out.
Say that again, sorry? So Dave said something. I missed it.
It was to MathPig.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, but yes, women are fundamentally, I believe that women and girls are biologically female. That's it. I mean, all the examples that Stephen gave about people working in the kitchen, working as a working class, middle class, upper class women were all biologically female. Whether they're blonde or they have brune hair, they're biologically female. Whether they've got a leg missing or they're autistic or they are really good at racquetball, they're all female. Right? This is a fundamental thing. Now, I didn't say this is where there's a definition of transphobia in the comment that Dave's posted. Dislike or prejudice against. I don't dislike trans people, and I have no prejudice against them. So again, this is the problem that I have with a lot of people when it comes to
have a prejudice against their chosen identity.
Because
that's not prejudice against the people.
If you don't think that trans women and cis women are, equal, then
But I didn't. But no, I don't. I didn't say that they weren't equal.
Okay,
Wait, did you just say that they should be their own separate category?
Yeah. Why are they a separate category then? Because if they're not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm getting a little heated, but no.
People are over talking.
I'm sorry.
Fabio still hasn't had to go. Maya, make a statement. Fabio, would you like to go next, or are you going to give up your time?
Well, I'm super confused. I have no fucking idea what we're talking about. So are we talking about the roles? Are we talking about the gender? Are we talking about the categories? Because I think
all of it.
So you can't talk about all of it at the same time. You can't. It's impossible.
Well, no, but we're bouncing around.
Bouncing around is correct. Fine. So if we're talking about gender categories, I mean, I don't know why people are so confused about how you define a woman. A woman is the simplest definition you can use. It's a female of the human gender with 2 X chromosomes. That's a fucking woman, right? I mean, there's. So no. Hold on a second. And then I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, you don't consider trans woman equal to what exactly?" They're all human beings. To me, they're all equals. They decide to identify. And keep in mind, I'm the old fart here, right? So when people comes to me and says he identifies as a fucking lawnmower, I have no fucking idea what they're talking about. I just listen to them.
That.
That was a stretch.
Let Fabio finish.
No. Hold on a second. The fact that I do not understand, that doesn't mean that I don't grant them, the equality of every human being I see. That is their problem. If they're willing to explain to me, I can accept that. And I'm super fine with that. I've got no problems at all with that. But there is a difference if we're talking about people identifying in something, if we're talking about roles, because you, Kendon, at a certain point, you talked about the role of the woman. Now, that's super tricky, because the role of a woman, okay, we can discuss about it, because first we got to define what is the role of a woman exactly, because that doesn't mix with what a woman actually is, right? And in the same way, then a conservative or a socialist, they cannot be idiots. I mean, idiots are cross platforms the same way that idiots are cross gender. There is no problem in that. So I'm super really confused and bouncing back and forth. I don't think it helps the conversation, but it's just fucking.
Sorry, Fabio, I assumed you were finished. The problem that I've got is that this is the sort of thing that I wanted to avoid, right? I made a statement, trans women, not women, which you are entitled to disagree with. But the first thing that I was accused of as soon as I made that statement was phobia and bigotry. So I have a pathological fear or hatred of something, or I'm intolerant of it, right? Neither of which is true. But this is the kind of thing I'm trying to stop.
Well, okay, I think, I can see what you're saying.
What
but
I'm
I
going
think
to do as well.
you got to be a little bit more careful and a little bit disingenuous than that. Because I can say, for example, that Jews are not Italians, right? There is nothing wrong with that. Well, Hebrews are not Italians, okay? Or Jews are not Christians. Those are fact statements. There is nothing weighing on it. It's what I mean to say with that. Because if I were in 39 in Germany, I would say, oh, Jews are not German. That would be a little bit different than me going to Germany and saying the same thing right now. So I understand what you're saying, but, it carries, words carry a lot of weight. And you got to be super, super careful what we say.
Well, no. But you see, this is the problem, because I only have to be careful with certain hot topic issues and with certain positions, which, by the way, that's a standard conservative point of view, regardless of how far right you are. One is, rather. The problem that I've got with this is that what we just had there was I expressed a point of view which is you can say is wrong. That's fine. But as soon as I did express it, I was accused of a pathological disorder, disorder. And I'm an existential threat.
What? Who said that?
That's what
nobody.
No, who said that?
Yeah,
but you were a threat.
This is what that lady in the chat. That's what bigotry is. If you are a bigot, if you are truly intolerant of something.
No, if you are making bigoted statements.
Right. I mean,
you're making bigoted statements. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, if that's what you want to talk about.
Bigotry is intolerance. I can put up with things I don't like, and that doesn't make me a bigot. I mean, as I say, we're conflating when I was speaking about the word bigotry now. But this is the kind of thing that is a real wind-up, because what happens now is a certain point of view, points of view that are only approved by a certain section of the political discourse are the only ones that are allowed to be broadcast. And if you disagree, or if you say, like, trans women are a separate category, they're entitled to respect, they're human beings, some of them are devilishly attractive, etc., but I don't think a trans woman is a woman, you're accused of being a monster. You're accused of homophobia or bigotry. Do you know how that poisons the conversation?
Okay, well, no. What's poisoning the conversation is your take on it. And this is a point of contention I have with conservatives. We're telling you, okay, these statements come out in a way that look homophobic, racist, sexist, da-da-da-da-da. And then you guys start pearl clutching. How dare you? I mean, this is bullshit, right? No, I'm not done. I'm not done. Wait a minute. As being Black and a woman, I get this from a couple of different angles, and I'm just saying it is more conducive to the conversation if, okay, I'll tell you what, there was a time when I was accused of being racist against a guy, and I was really just thinking about stats I had in my head, and I'm like, oh, this is white man think like this, so it makes sense that you would think like this. But in his head, I was stereotyping him and putting him in a box. And that's not what I was meaning to do. I was trying to understand where he was coming from. And so when he called me a racist, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That wasn't my intention. Why do you believe that? And then we had the conversation. I didn't start the pearl clutching. I didn't call him all these names. I didn't, how dare you? Like, these things will stop the conversation. If somebody is saying, okay, I have a problem with something you're saying, let's talk about it. Like, it doesn't mean you make mistakes. I made a mistake. Somebody called me a racist. I thought that was a bad thing. I remedied it. He no longer thinks I'm a racist. You can do the same thing with this trans thing, right?
No, but that's not the point. I said trans women are not women, and then it was phobia and bigotry. So
it is a transphobic statement.
Yeah, but how is it a transphobic statement? Please explain in very small words, because I am dumb, exactly how trans women are not women. Because I recognise that trans people exist at the start. How is the statement "trans women are not women" a transphobic statement? Explain to me how it exhibits a pathological fear of a tiny subsection of the population that are going through transition and, you know, going from one form to another, for want of a better phrase. That's the bit. And if you can't, because it's not a pathological fear, then the adjective transphobic is inappropriate, I would argue.
I don't believe phobia has to resonate with you as a fear.
Kendon, can you see the private chat? Kendon, can you see the private chat? Just look at the private chat, Kendon, and then continue on, Maya.
Say again, sorry?
Can you see the private chat, Kendon?
Oh, I can definitely see the private chat.
I can, yes.
I disagree with phobia. I'm like, a phobia, you have to recognize that you're afraid of something for something to be a phobia. When you react to something the same way you would a fear. Like just Googling transphobia, it's a dislike or prejudice against a transsexual or transgendered people.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you like being scared, jumping on a chair and shooing them away with a broom, you know.
Okay, so it's not okay. You've expanded the definition of phobia to include dislike or prejudice, right?
I did not. I read Google.
Yeah.
No. But this is it. But the word is expanded, right? So if it's no dislike, and where's the prejudice?
We're not talking about phobias. We're talking about transphobia.
It's getting really very heated. It's getting very heated, and what I really try to do here...
I'm not heated.
No. Maybe heated is a different choice of word. Passionate discussion, regardless of what anybody is saying, it's Kendon against the world right now, and I really don't like that. That's my own personal preference, is I don't like one person on their own when there's 5 or 6 people that's disagreeing with it.
That is not fair, because I hate everybody, so I am against everybody.
Okay, so we've still got 3 against Kendon and Fabio against the world. All right.
I think it's kind of dangerous to, not address the issue.
I totally 100% agree with you. But as you know yourself, Maya, I try to create an even platform, and it's Kendon trying to answer you, then Kendon answering Dave, then Kendon answering Steve, and then I'd really like us to maybe bounce on to a different topic, maybe talk about some politics. Kendon, what is the most thing that's annoying you in politics in the UK right now? And maybe go with that. Or it's very heated, and I don't like the way it's going.
No, it's your show, and I totally respect that. Trans women are women, and now the conversation's over.
My only remark to Kendon, and believe me, I disagree with you on a lot of things about capitalism, but that's not the problem right now. But my only remark to you is that I'm taking what you say at your word, right? That your comment was exactly what you said, and somebody accused you of transphobia. These are exactly the people you don't want to have a conversation with. Fuck them. For the very same reason why I don't want to have a conversation with people that says that Trump is Hitler, because, to be totally fair, that's paying a compliment to Trump, because at least Hitler had an ideology. That stupid cunt is just, a populist. But,
what
and
the
fuck? I kind of understand that it's, when you talk with people, you want to engage with everybody. It's not fucking worth it. There are some people that you just say, okay, yeah, you're right. And then you carry on and you find better conversations. You can't lose your time. You can't waste your time with these kind of people. If that is what happened, and I have no problems believing that this is what actually happened. So I wouldn't give two fucks about it if I were you. But
right, okay. Well, I'm not. As I say, I have no problem with talking to anybody, even people I disagree with, even people who accuse me of things. But MathPig asked a question, which I'd like to answer. MathPig asked, "What is the thing that annoys me in the UK right now? The fact that that topic ended with the statement, 'Trans women are women.' End of conversation."
Right,
from my point of view,
that is exactly.
Yeah, go on ahead,
Sorry.
No, I don't.
But that is exactly right. The kind of person that you should not have a conversation with. They're not worth it.
If you want to know why,
whoa. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Why are you here? Because myself, Maya, and I'm sure
Fabio's here at my
so
request.
many more people are of the opinion that trans women are women, and we're not willing to budge on that. So, what? Why are you here?
I don't know what your point is.
Who's that aimed at, Kendon or Fabio?
Fabio.
Oh, Fabio agrees with us.
So what is your point exactly?
I mean, like, okay, so aside from the fact that you've, just spent the last couple of minutes, just blatantly insulting myself and Maya, like,
whoa, no. You got to elaborate on that.
Well, because you said that there's no point in talking to people who are like so, headstrong in a certain position that they have.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was very specific.
Roughly what you said.
No. It's not even roughly what I said. What I said is very specific. What I said is that if somebody says trans women are not women, and the reply immediately is you are transphobic, those are the kind of person you should not have a conversation with.
On that
because
topic.
you cannot you cannot imply that somebody is transphobic from those words exactly. That is not a conversation to have. If you already pass a judgment on me because of a statement that I did, which might be defended, by the way, because there is no problem defending the statement that trans women are not women, as I said before. But you pass the judgment on me that I'm transphobic. I don't want to have a conversation with you. I'm sorry.
Didn't say that you were transphobic.
no, but
That is what I said. Now, if you that is why I was very careful to understand what you understood.
Right, hold on, I'm going to jump in now, and I'm going to do a wee bit of translating and stuff. Fabio, number one, English isn't his first language. Number two, he's very specific on what he says. There's no nuance and shit like that. He says what he thinks and he means what he is. And on this topic, he is trying to, I think, put across, if the two people are so staunch on their opinion that they're never going to agree with each other, then there's no point in the conversation because it won't go anywhere. Because, if I say the sky's blue and you say it's purple and nothing you say will change my mind and vice versa, there's no point in having the conversation between us two because we won't go any further.
Well, I mean, and I don't think that we were arguing. He was genuinely asking a question. I thought we were just trying to explain our stance. I wasn't.
Right.
Yep. I don't think there was an insult thrown about. I think that was a miscommunication, Stephen.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not trying to argue. I mean, if I really
he didn't
thought
preface
he
it with I'm
was
an asshole to everyone and I hate everyone.
No, but I understand what Maya is
good.
saying, as the fact that she was, she never get to that point.
Now we're talking.
She nuanced her point and she was explaining her point. Okay, we can have a conversation. Right on, carry on.
Right.
But if I say, what I said, they say, oh, you're a fucking fascist, you're transphobic. I say, hold on, lady. I mean, I'm not going to talk with you. And you cannot really blame me for that, right?
But
so
wait,
that's all
what
I was saying.
Are you
No.
saying that
No. That's not what you said.
I'll agree with that then. If somebody is just throwing insults at you,
to use an example for the chat, right? And then or Kendon, go on ahead. Kendon, go on ahead.
The problem is this. if you say trans women are women, which you're entitled to say, and I'm sure you can defend it, but if someone comes along and says trans women are not women, and the instinctive response is phobia, bigotry, intolerance, you're a monster, or you're just opinion, you're pathologically opposed to these people, you have shut down any hope of a conversation. I say that statement, and you know me. I might be on the right, but I doesn't mean I'm always right.
You did two examples earlier of mixed opinions and having a progressive one, but if you say one thing, you get jumped on. So
exactly, what happens is you shut down the topic, you look like the villain, and it destroys the discourse. Now, you might not be willing to concede that trans women are not women. That's fine.
And
you might be right
in your opinion.
But the problem is that you've made it so that only one opinion is socially acceptable, or at least one opinion is allowed to be published. Because if you remember, we were talking about Twitter when we started this.
Mm-hmm.
The statement trans women are not women
Mm-hmm.
is justifiable as long as you expand on those terms and explain where you're coming from. But because your political, I'm not going to make it personal to you. That's not fair. But because I want to say gender radical, but no, sort of like leftist opinion on gender and sex and sexuality is the only one that is allowed to be broadcast on a public platform, it means that the conversation, and there is a conversation to be had on not just whether trans women are women, but what rights trans women should have in society, things like that, what we can do to accommodate them, that conversation is shut down because you can't converse with people who agree with you. You can't,
okay,
because you're saying the same thing back and forth.
That is a point where I strongly disagree with you. Because Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever the fuck, they can tell you to fuck off and die regardless. They're private companies. They can do whatever the fuck you want. If you don't like it, tough shit. By the way, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever the hell, Facebook, they should be the pinnacle of somebody which is considering capitalism. They're all private companies. They follow the market. They don't want those opinions to be expressed. Sod it. I mean, you're not allowed to do that. You are in their turf.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate we're talking about private companies and what they're entitled to do with their products. That's a conversation to be had. But I'm talking more broadly about the conversation.
Conversation? No. Hold on a second, because I don't think that people in Twitter. Let me take a step back. I think they're all a massive bunch of morons, but I don't think they are economically idiots. So if they push for the agenda that those kind of topics should not be discussed, I think that they have got their good economical reasons, be it the way that, probably they got less, advertisement or whatever the fuck. Whatever the reasons are, they follow the market, right? So if they decide not to do that, it's their prerogative. What exactly is the problem?
No. Again, they're following the market, absolutely. But and so they've got a platform, and if the majority of people agree with the statement "trans women are women," then it makes sense for them to boot off people who disagree with that statement because it will upset their customers. So on that level, it makes a kind of sense. However, if we're talking about the broader issue of transition, trans rights, that sort of thing, are trans women, taking it away from Facebook and Twitter and other such companies. The thing that winds me up in British politics, and I'm guessing it's true in Ireland, and I'm guessing it's true in the United States, in fact, I know it's true in the United States, is that if you express a point of view that is not considered au fait with there's a group of people who are arbeting like a form of inquisition, and they say, this is the way, the truth and the light, and all else is heresy. If you just basically purge people as heretics, you shut down the dialogue. So here's another example. This is what.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, it seems to me that you want to have the dialogue. But people is not interested to having dialogue on every topic. So if the majority of people is not interested in the topic, you cannot say, "Oh, I've been shut down." Maybe nobody's interested. Maybe the vast majority of people do not agree with you, and they don't want to hear, that point of view because they think it's either stupid or wrong, pass, or they do not understand it, wrong. I don't want to offend you. I mean, you would have a point if you say, "Oh, listen, last time I went on the street, I would say, Speaker's Corner, and I said that, and the police came and arrested me." Now you would have a point. right?
Yeah,
but nobody is really hinging on you. You cannot say those things. I mean, you actually here now saying those things, and nobody's shutting you down, right?
Yeah,
We just, I don't think that people is interested, but that's another thing.
No. I appreciate that. You're right. You know, if I'm at Speaker's Corner and people arrest me, then obviously it's a violation of rights. And people don't necessarily, because who am I? I'm just some guy who talks into a phone on a Chinese app. You know, that's all I am. I'm not a pundit at all. But what bothers me is the fact that I expressed a countervailing point of view. The phobia and bigotry were used against it. There was no discussion of why. There was no open questions like, why do you think that? There was no form of inquiry whatsoever. And when I tried to explain that phobia and bigotry are two words that do not apply to my position, even if you disagree with it, those established words were then massaged to accommodate the initial rebuttal. It's like as MathPig has set up this platform, and he's not the only one who's doing it, but he's one where diverse opinions come.
Best. Just to clarify, I was first and I'm the best. Just to clarify.
I totally agree. But if you want diverse opinion on a range of topics, right, and you've invited me on because you know that I'm of a particular political bent that you do not share, then obviously you are giving me a space to express a point of view that you might think is wrong, which is perfectly fine because I might well be wrong. I keep saying to people, I'm on the right, but that doesn't mean I'm always right. But that means if in the spirit of good faith dialogue, which I think I've had with Stephen, I've had with MathPig, I've had to a lesser extent with Dave, you have to be at least entertained. I'll debate anything.
I can just point out, neither me nor Stephen would be members, if I can say, Stephen, LGBTQ. Yeah, we're both white, straight cis men. Dave is more passionate about this topic, so there's justification for that. He's more educated on the topic, he's experienced the topic, so there's a reason behind it.
MathPig. I'm pan, so yeah.
Well, then fuck off.
I'm also part of the LGBT community, and I've experienced horrendous homophobia. I've had substances smeared on my door. I've had notices pinned on the door. I've had people avoiding me in like lunch halls and things like that because I'm basically bisexual, right? Well, by the time I came out as gay, right? So I understand the active forms of bigotry and prejudice, etc. I know what that is like. But that doesn't mean that you come from a position that position doesn't mean that if I meet someone who is homophobic or biphobic or whatever, I don't just say bigot, phobe, and that's it, and then shut it down. That's not. I want to find out why they think that way. That's why I'm prepared to have debates with. And I've known because I've done this. I've had debates with neo-Nazis before. I despise neo-Nazis. I've got a whacking great big Magen David behind me. I'm not a big fan of this ideology, but I'm curious to find out how they got there. Now, it might not be a very good reason. They might be just idiots. There is that danger. But I just want to find out what it is. And that means I have to be, at least pretend to be objective, because obviously I've got my passions about it. I pretend to be objective and interrogate and dig in and find out because if you can pull their argument by one thread of their argument, hopefully, if they have any integrity at all, their argument collapses and they convert themselves. They convert themselves and they drift away. Now, maybe that's an ideal view, but as someone who used to teach, and as someone who has basically done that and tried to, got people to look at their own fallacious thinking, I know that it can work. But the idea, you can't just simply say phobe, ist, bigot, whatever, and just slap on a label and then just shut down that point of view. It doesn't work. It's counterproductive.
Okay, well, I would agree. I agree that name calling is always a bad. It's not an argument, and it's things that people do when they don't have an argument. I also disagree that people making statements that you take as like an insult or name calling is kind of bad argumentation as well. If I tell you that you're making a transphobic statement, we can talk about why I'm putting the statement in that box, or why many people on the left do, or why you don't believe the statement should belong in that category. But it's really more of a, if I'm name calling anything, it's the statement. It's not necessarily making I don't know. For me, at least, it's not making a value judgment on you. I misgender people probably weekly, just out of ignorance, and I try better every day. So I'm not trying to make a value judgment on you or your character. And I understand that, especially on Twitter, there are a lot of bad faith actors. But if somebody's honestly trying to have a conversation with you, I mean, you should be able to pick up the nuance on that and just have the conversation rather than letting, words kind of derail you from the conversation.
If I can just point out, it's 12:30. Kendon did originally agree to stay at 12 o'clock. So Kendon, maybe go for another 15-20 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's fine.
If there's anything that you would like to particularly focus on from, something that's passionate to you, something about the politics to you, something that you're working towards on TikTok or something like that, something that you'd like to focus on for the last 15-20 minutes, the floor is yours, man.
The only thing I want to focus on is I believe in free speech and free dialogue, and I believe in the exchange of ideas, and I am not happy with the infliction of any philosophy from any side, I don't care if it's left or right, with the idea that this is the way, the truth, and the light, and all else is heresy. Because that, to me, is the true bigotry. That's the true form of intolerance, right? I believe in pluralism. This is why I used to be a liberal and then I drifted over to the right, because I have, for example, have no objection to people marching in the street under banners expressing political ideologies that I despise. As long as I have the right of counter-protest or counter-argument, I don't mind, because I believe in free expression of ideas, even if they're toxic and stupid. The problem that I've got is that because there's the only reason why phobia and bigotry were used is because there's an entire complex ideology behind the statement trans women are women. The differences between sex and gender, the role of gender roles, biological determinism, social constructionist points of view. All of this stuff is a dense ideology that you can discuss, and I have the right to question it and I have the right to challenge it, just as I have to be challenged. And I find it very frustrating when the first thing anybody says is they accuse you of things. They say it's a pathological fear or it's a form of intolerance, yet neither were exhibited by that statement. It means that the dialogue, that you might not want to debate the issue, which is fine. You don't have to. We've only got one life and it's short, unfortunately. But you need to be able to try to understand why people think the way they do. They think differently, even if what they think is stupid or just plain wrong. And that's what frustrates me. That's why I know most of the LGBT people I know, right, don't hang out in LGBT groups. They have nothing to do with them, right? Some of them are married, right? And they have lives and they live happy lives in peace, but they don't have anything to do with the political side of the LGBT community precisely for this reason. Because if they do say something that is not considered, au fait, is not in keeping with the dominant philosophy, they're cast out. They can lose their jobs. That can happen quite easily. They get policed on social media. They lose social media platforms. That's happened to a lot of people who are, part of the Rainbow Legion. And that to me is terrifying. Just the very concept, the concept of thought crime and wrongthink and groupthink terrify me. Because it's an infliction of a political ideology that might not necessarily be completely accurate on people who disagree, even if they might be right to. That's what troubles me. That's why I believe in debate. That's why I come on. I'm surrounded by people who disagree with me. That's fine. I'm here to talk, and I'm here to listen to people who disagree with me. That's what my channel is about.
Okay, here's the thing I was going to say. You understand that you are unfortunately never at the starting point of that conversation. As in, the phrase is used to invalidate people's existence.
No, I don't accept that at all.
Oh, fundamentally, you've only got to watch one community and how they treated it. And to be quite honest, in exactly the same way that the right turned around and says any person that supports socialism is a communist. Again, more in the US than here, to invalidate them. That argument is dismissed, regardless. That person is a communist. Right.
But surely my use of the word trans woman recognizes that trans women are a thing and they exist.
It's invalid in terms of invalid. No, like I said, I'm not explicitly at this point not trying to come from where you're going at, because you're coming at it from a debate perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Unfortunately, the majority of people you will talk to on social media That debate's been had 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and the majority of the time that debate that happens, the people screaming that are doing it to invalidate them.
That might well be true in toxic online environments, and let's face it, we've all been on those. But we're talking more broadly about the issues, because I don't think that by refusal to recognize, because if trans women are women, they don't need to transition. That's one of my points. That's why I don't accept the statement that trans women are, because if trans women are already women, they don't need to transition. Everything they do is cosmetic, hair and makeup and things.
Well, would you consider that who you are comes from your brain?
Well, it's a physical.
No. Would you consider that your personality and who you are comes from your brain? Simple question.
Yeah.
You are your mind. You are your brain. We're going to be broad brush and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to a certain degree, yes.
Yeah. So if, say, for talk's sake, you could have a trans woman who was proved that their brain was different to a straight man and more closer aligned with... I'm going to dig a hole here no matter what label I fucking use, but you get the point I'm making. Like, you see, Fabio, don't laugh at me, right? But you get the point I'm making. We can medically show that their brains are different. Well, as you say, it may be all cosmetic, but that's your physical body. It's not you. It's different. There's a nuance. There's a difference to it.
Okay. If your brain is telling, like, for example, if it's purely an identity issue, if their brains are physically different, i.e. they're neurophysically wired differently, they might have the impression that they're women, but that doesn't necessarily make them women.
But if you could, again, because I can't use labels because it'll just put me in the same hole and the same position that you're in, man. And I know exactly where you're coming from trying to put this conversation forward. But if you can show there's a correlation between two types of brains, more so than two other types of brains, then these two are more similar. It doesn't mean that because this is closer to that and a wee bit of this that they think it's physical. Your brain is the way it is.
Right. But Jenny points it out this way, which is probably better. Says, fine, they are not transitioning. They are correcting a fucking birth defect.
Yes, that's what I mean with the physical. Thank you very much, Jenny, for saying what I'm trying to say. The cosmetics, as what you say, is more of a birth defect because your brain is who you are and your brain is you.
Let me just say...
Oh, please let Kendon finish. No, let Kendon retort to that and then Fabio, it's your...
Sorry.
Well, that makes more sense as an argument. The idea of being born in the wrong body, that's the phrase that's kind of old hat now, but that's the phrase.
It's old fashioned, but yes, that's the point.
It's old fashioned, but that would be if you could produce, but then of course that resurrects the concept of the female brain, which of course the feminist movement has been running away from for like the last at least 80 years, probably a century now. But yeah, I would concede that point quite easily. If they have woman brains in man bodies, and then they are changing their man bodies to suit their woman brains, then yes, correcting a birth defect would actually be a more appropriate phrase. They are trying to bring their bodies in line with upstairs.
Holy shit.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to put across, and I think we have been doing for ages. Fabio, make a point. Ken will retort to it. We'll run around the room, and we'll
I was quite interested by what actually is his point. I mean, so where does he go from there? So let's grant you, for the sake of conversation, right? Let me the only one which grants you that, trans women are not women. Okay, fair enough. Okay, yeah, I'm sold.
I thought we were done.
Yeah, no.
No.
I don't want to hear right. Just for a clarifying statement for everybody, don't want to hear that statement again.
Well, listen, I'm willing.
Shut it down. Cancel culture.
Fuck off. Where do you go from there, and why do you need to make that statement?
I'm not sure I was going anywhere.
Well, no, he wasn't. He was actually.
So it's that is.
How it started was just him saying how much he didn't like, I guess, like the right says cancel culture, and how I can make a statement and like it ruins my entire life. Like that was actually the point of it. And then I really liked it as a concept. And then MathPig was like, "No, tell us how you stand." And I was like, "Oh, holy shit!" But this is good. This is good because we got him to understand
say
where
that. I
we're
asked
coming
if he
from.
agreed with us.
Because
So
off.
basically that statement hinges
Fair.
on nothing. So you just made that statement and you don't follow up from that statement, nothing at all.
It was just an example. He wasn't making
It's
an
all
argument.
gone fucking Pete Tong. Right, so, as I said, we've kept Kendon for quite a while. It's getting... I don't think anybody's going to come out of this looking well. None of us. We're going to come out looking like we're ganging up Kendon, and everybody in the audience is going to think that Kendon disagrees with us. It's not going to be a good conversation.
No. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
I was actually trying to understand this point of view, but you know,
This is a 10 string.
my point of view is very simple. Sex and gender are not the same thing. Gender is not entirely a social construct. It has a root in biological reality. Sexual organs play a big part. I'm a man because I have a twig and berries and not a cleft. Right. That's part of my manhood. Right. That's all it is. The phrase trans women are not women, I understand there are people with brains that might be wired differently, or they might have the impression that they're women, but they are in another body. That makes them a separate category. So they're trans women because they don't experience menstruation or any of the biological horrors that women have to go through. So this decision that trans women are women kind of amalgamates everybody together, and you include people who are not biologically female, which means the question then becomes, what do you mean by woman? How do you define the word woman? Because you can't say, well, some women are blonde, some women are brunette, some women have big tits and small tits. It's like, that's all true, but you still haven't defined what a woman is, because you can't. Because if you include people who are biologically the other sex, completely the other sex, who have different gender roles and all the rest of it, depending on what society you're in, the word woman becomes meaningless because it can mean anything.
That is the thing.
Well, I mean, the words are meaningless. We made them up.
No, but that is the thing I said at the beginning, and where I was super confused, because it seemed to me that you're confusing the role with the gender.
I don't see how.
Well, I mean, if you don't confuse it, you really don't need to follow up with anything with that statement. I don't see why you even need to make that statement, right?
No, I still don't. I don't understand.
What is the purpose of you making that statement? Is it pissing people off? Is it pissing people off? The people that say the transgender people are women? Is it the point, or is it the point that you say, okay, transgender are not women, so they cannot marry themselves? Okay, what is the follow up to that point? No, there must be a follow up, because if not, I'm going on the road and say, yeah, I mean, red is not green. Yeah, cool. Yeah, fair enough. Where do you go from there? Nowhere.
No, but what my point is that the statement trans women are women, which people are entitled to hold, is a particular left-wing position. It represents a particular view of sex and gender, which is promoted by one side of a political debate. It is not shared by all political philosophies.
So are you sure they're not talking about the role?
No,
or how?
No, it's not. It's not to do with role. No. At least not what I've read. Yeah. It's about whether.
I mean, it's fair enough, but if that's your statement, even what you said before, that that is a pretty leftist point of view, it's false, because I'm everything but leaning to the right, and I have no problems agreeing with that. It is just a void statement because it brings nowhere. It doesn't bring anywhere, in the progress of what people has done. It doesn't brings nowhere in recognizing, that gay people or trans people, they got to find their role in the society. It doesn't bring nowhere, in the fact that they should be allowed to marry themselves and stuff like that. So, what is exactly the objection to that?
My objection is that it reduces everything to a social construct. That there is no biological reality that can be assigned to woman or man or anything else. It's a form of philosophy that ignores biological reality in favor of a philosophy in the name of inclusion and equality in a way that doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes the word woman meaningless, at least as far as I can see, because again, trans women are not biological.
I don't think that anybody here, including Maya, Stephen, would say that trans person are biological women. I don't think anybody's going to say that.
I would never even. I could smoke the fattest joint in my life, and I would still never say that
Right.
that trans
But
women
you know
are
what?
biologically women.
Here's the thing, though.
Right.
Wait,
Okay.
real quick, though.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
all right, I don't know that you guys are biologically
After
men.
Maya, if I can just say, Stephen hasn't had a chance. So after Maya, Stephen, I do want to give you the floor. And we're going to run around the room. This is, we might move to a Patreon channel and keep the conversation going if people want to keep watching the conversation. But yeah, just Stephen or Maya, I'm lost.
I mean, if we're talking about it from a social perspective, like I don't really know what anybody is, right? I don't dissect you guys. I don't know what your chromosomes are. You said you're a guy. I take it on faith that you're a guy, right? There's no reason we can't do this for trans men and women. We just, conservatives don't want to for, I don't know, the reasons that don't make sense to me. We can, like, man and woman can just be meaningless, and we can understand that we made them up so that we could define things. I don't understand why the common people, like non-scientists, non-doctors, need to have a solid, concrete definition of men and women, especially one that leads to so many suicides in children and causes people so much strife. Just let people be.
I'm not suggesting that that I'm interfering with anyone's life, but what you've just done then is you've gone at an anti-intellectual perspective, because if words do not have some kind of definition, we can't use them, we can't construct sentences, we can't construct thoughts, and therefore we can't have a conversation. I mean,
yeah, you can. You can ask somebody what they are, they can tell you, and you can use those words in your sentences. That's all we're asking.
But what do the words mean? If I say to you, if I say to you, I saw a dragon on the street today. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by dragon?
If I say to you that I am a girl and I would like you to use she/her pronouns, like what does that mean to you? It means you use goddamn she/her pronouns. Like,
yeah, but
this is how we use words. Like you're making it more convoluted than it needs to be. It on the social aspect, there is no academic thought. Most people don't.
Maya,
that.
He's trying to say something. So if you can just, there is.
Yeah, I get that, but I really just want to say how pissed off I am that every time I say something, I can't finish a goddamn sentence, and you never come to my defense.
I'm trying to let you finish. I'm trying to let you finish.
I'm going to shut up and let the man talk. It's fine. Makes sense.
Maya, damn right. Like, you know damn right that I'm not like that. I'm looking at the live chat. I have Twitter here. I have Discord here. I have people tweeting me and texting me about this conversation. I have like 6 things going on. I do apologize if that has came across like that, but you know damn rightly that I'm not like that. I'm making that. I'm not that, and you know that. All right? Mics and volume and what catches my attention. I do apologize, but I'm not like that.
MathPig is not like that. He's very much a gentleman. He's the most adorable baby girl ever.
Thanks for your condescending.
I am not.
What makes him a girl? What makes you a girl, Maya?
Right, we're not even going to go down that route. Everybody gets a couple of minutes. Kendon, TikTok. Maya, sorry, no, fuck that. Maya, the floor is yours. You make a statement. Have you anything happening? What would you like to go on?
Look, I'm an advocate for people, and I look at the greater good, and I just don't understand the conservative mindset on the trans issue. It's not a political thing for me. I just want people to be happy, and I want us all to coincide together. So I do reject this as a political thing. The left was never trying to politicize transgender. We just asked for them to have a seat at the table with the rest of us, and the right actually politicized it. We didn't want that. We just wanted rights for all, and that's what I do. That's what I advocate for, and that's who I am. Now I'm muting so that other people can talk without being interrupted by me.
Kendon, as the guest, I do apologize this has turned into everybody against you. But have you anything that you would like to state? Have you anything TikTok-y going on, or anything you'd like to promote? You hanging out with Stephen again?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure we're going to meet up for at some point in the near future. Our conversations tend to be quite successful, even if we do disagree on 90% of the issues. But yeah, the trouble is that I agree with almost everything that Maya just said. I think that people need to get along. We need to coexist. Trans people want to see at the table. That's absolutely fine by me. Unfortunately, I don't accept the idea that it was only the right that politicized it. I reject that completely. I also think that saying that words don't have meanings means that language itself collapses, and therefore we're unable to communicate with each other. So in the spirit of conversation, if you believe that people should interact, be able to negotiate with each other, words need to have some kind of definition. Otherwise, because if a word is meaningless, you can't use it. But that word needs to have a meaning. So that's why I don't accept the idea that words can be whatever you want, because that means that language completely collapses. Now, there you are. That's the final place. That's my final position.
I think Dave's moving between computers at the minute, so we'll bounce over to Stephen. Stephen, any cider and porty things going on?
Yeah, just to kind of answer your kind of question, MathPig, Kendon, I shot you an email a couple of days ago. I'm doing a stream on the 31st of this month. It is the return of the Kevin podcast, literally, because
seeing that popped up my notifications,
Yeah, he hasn't been on the channel in about 17 years, so he is going to be returning to the podcast finally. So Kevin is wanting to take a back seat from the whole politics stuff. I totally understand it. Politics, as Kendon
Jump
said,
left is not as entertaining anymore.
And well, that is true. But as Kendon echoed from a phrase that Vosh used, politics is dumb, but it is very important. It is a statement that I wholeheartedly agree with, and I understand why it can be a little bit jarring for some people. So we are going to be talking about just some random stuff, probably reacting to some Karens. That might be something that we'll do. We're just going to have a fun podcast. That's going to be the 31st of July. Kendon, you're more than welcome to come. Everybody here is more than welcome to come.
I should be free.
Yes. Other than that, yeah. Other than that, I don't have anything else scheduled between now and then. I don't know if I will. But yeah, me and Kendon do definitely need to talk about some politics though soon. That is definitely something that has to happen.
Maya, anything happening? Oh, you did your go. Sorry. Fabio, anything happening?
Well, I just want to say two things. The first one is that I am extremely happy that some kind of conversation are generally shut off from the general public, because it only means that we advance as a species, we advance as human beings, we accept that some people that they are willing to change a gender are way more accepted and integrated in the society. So not even talking about that, to me, I see the same thing as not wanting to talk about it. I see it the same way as not wanting to have a conversation on whether the earth is flat or not. It's just bullshit. So if people entertain that kind of angle, more power to them. I'm just not interested. It was very funny to me to hear the first part of the conversation about capitalism, which I think it's to make a summary, I think it's bullshit. But that was a way more interesting thing for me to hear. And I'm sorry the conversation steered toward other topics. So I think it would have been more challenging. Some ideas that were presented are just plain wrong. I mean, there is no invisible hand. Adam Smith, just said that. And so, yeah, I mean, that's it.
Right, thank you very much, Fabio. If I can just say, the reason Kendon is here tonight, because of what the conversations that I've seen only on Stephen's channel, because fuck TikTok, all right? Sorry, Kendon, fuck TikTok, all right?
To be honest, I echo that sentiment many days, so don't worry.
Again, love the t-shirt, nice tattoos and all the rest, but fuck TikTok, all right? The reason the Kendon is here tonight is because every single time I've seen him have an interaction with Stephen, and the 1.5, we'll call it, interactions that I've had with him personally, man's always been very open. He, I hope that he will come back and we can continue a conversation.
I'd like to come back if
Yeah, no,
I'm
of course. As I always say, the more different opinions that we accumulate, so to speak, then the more of a true representation of the human species that we have, because that's all we actually are. We're all humans. We're all the same fucking people. We just have a matter of difference of opinion. And if we don't talk about them, we don't bring these topics up, we don't talk about it's as heated, as polarizing as it is. If we don't fucking talk about it, it doesn't come to attention. We don't find out friends, allies, differences of opinions. Go and find an asshole and talk to them about some asshole topic. And I'm not making that at Kendon. I'm just like, go and talk to people who disagree with you. Go and find them. Keep the conversation going. Fabio can go fuck himself.
You're coming to my side. You're coming to my side. I can feel it.
Why do you think you're always the first asshole who gets the fucking link? Right, no, the point I'm saying is conversation is key. It's not opinion. It's conversation is key. Everybody is entitled to their opinions just as much as assholes are entitled to take a shit in the fucking toilet. So think for yourselves, people. Thank you very, very much to the members. Thank you very much to the patrons who help support the channel. And Kendon, man, Lion, Daniel, brilliant. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Everybody hates everybody. I'd rather that happen than everybody ended up loving everybody, because that means we all agree, and fuck that shit. So people, think for yourself, and yeah, we might go on the Patreon channel. We'll see what the crack goes. We'll do a review, whatever. So if any of the members or the Patreons know where that link is, you know where that link is. Keep an eye out. We'll see what the crack is. And thank you very much for the dark side of the force. I mean, thank you very much for all coming. Yeah, shout out to everybody. Where's all the buttons? I've so much going on. This is insane. Kendon, love you, man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Night, everybody.
Good night.